Thank you to Green Chef for sponsoring today's video. Green Chef is a CCOF certified organic company, and they have options for every lifestyle: keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, fast and fit, Mediterranean, and gluten-free. Per usual, this arrives at the perfect time when my groceries start dwindling down and I'm wondering what the heck is gonna be for dinner. And this is just one of the many reasons Green Chef is amazing, because doorstep delivery allows you to skip the grocery store, while pre-portioned ingredients and pre-made sauces make cooking a snap on busy weeknights. Literally, I was like, what am I gonna cook? And I remembered I had this in the fridge, and it was something I could throw together so quickly because I was starving. Green Chef makes cooking easy so you can spend less time stressing and more time enjoying delicious home-cooked meals. Amen. They have organic proteins and wild-caught seafood options. They're delicious choices for breakfast, lunch, and dinner that fit your health lifestyle. And they have a new protein pack meal preference. That's what I got. A new collection of recipes fit for high protein dietary preferences, with menu items each containing an average of 40 grams of protein per serving. Like I showed you earlier, all of the ingredients come in the bag, everything that you need. There are step-by-step instructions with photos to walk you through the preparation. So use my code JessOwens60 to get 60% off and free shipping on your first box. Go to greenchef.com for more details. It will be linked down below. But again, that's JessOwens60 to get 60% off and free shipping on your first box. Thank you to Green Chef for sponsoring today's video.
Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess. Here's my messy bedroom shelf. But it has books on it, so right, this is a great book background. And obviously by the thumbnail, we are here to talk about, hold on, okay. We're here to talk about the book that is sweeping the book nation, and that is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Now, I have read this, so I'm gonna be non-spoilery. So here is this book that I did buy before reading it. And I really can't tell you why. I'm probably not gonna hold up this book the whole time. Actually, I'm not. I'll just put up a thing. So it's very weird that I bought it. I haven't saw like a hype TikTok book in a while because I'm not really on Booktok. And I'm rarely on Instagram. And I feel like you don't see as many popular things like trending books on Twitter, but maybe. Anyway, I literally had not heard of this book. I had not seen this cover. I have never heard of this author. I saw Elle from Elliot Brooks's video about upcoming fantasy releases, and she was talking about it, and she said that she had heard a lot of people reading it, giving it really great reviews, and I'm like, wow, I ain't heard a damn thing about this book. And so it sounded interesting, and I was like, Dragon Riders, okay. And I thought nothing of it. Then I was on TikTok, and I saw Mutual had a video saying like, oh, you need to read this. And I forgot exactly what they said, but for some reason I was like, maybe I should. Then I went to Goodreads, and I saw that Bethany had left a review, and her review sold me. And I was like, well, maybe this could be for me. So I bought it, and I read it. And now I see Fourth Wing everywhere. And I'm so confused because I literally had not heard of it. And now that's all obviously because I saw one video, but like I just keep hearing people when I'm in sprints and stuff talking about Fourth Wing. So it's just a very interesting marketing campaign and push for this. Did you know about this book before it came out? Like, had you heard about it even a week before then? Because I didn't. But anyway, this book is, and people are saying it's more like a new adult. The main character, she is 20. And so they were saying new adult. Also, I clicked on the author's TikTok, and I saw that this was the regular edition. So I'm not gonna lie, that's another reason I bought it, because it was pretty. I'm not above buying pretty things, as y'all know. So basically, did I read the synopsis? No, I never do. Come on, are you new here? You might be. If you are, thanks for joining us today. So I heard Dragon Riders and I heard fantasy romance, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a try. So we have our main character, whose name I already forgot. I cannot keep names in my brain. What her name is? Isabel? Violet. Her name is Violet, and she is the daughter of like a general. This book is basically centered around I'm trying to see if they had, I think there's a map. I mean, there's a map of like the world, but then there's like a map of the school, because it's basically a military academy. Okay, it's like this. It's basically a military academy that the book is centered or is set in. It's Basgiath, and I'm probably butchering all these names, War College. So she is the daughter of like someone high up in their military. Her mom's like the general, so I don't know what rank, you know, how many people are above her, maybe just one, I can't remember. And there's different quadrants. So there's the riders quadrant. So those people go on to become dragon riders. There's some other ones. Her whole life was preparing to go into the scribe quadrant. That's what her father did. That's what she was gonna do. She has a chronic illness, and so she has some like physical limitations. She is more susceptible to injury, and so that's what she was training for her whole life. But now her mother's like, you have to become a writer because no one in my family is going to be a little scribe, even though her husband was, but the husband is dead. That's not a spoiler. You learn about it at the beginning of the book. Her husband and brother. And so now she has an older sister who's a writer, and she is going into her first year at this academy. And it is definitely one of those schools that you could die really at any minute. The initial thing to like get in, like physically enter the building, you might die. And before that, they had to take tests and stuff, and like so she passed those. But then getting into the physical parts of it, that's where she may or may not die. And her sister does try to advocate for her to her mom, like she's going to die. You want to send your daughter in to die? And she's like, girl, bye, whatever. So anyway, she goes into this college, and that is the setting of our story. Fantasy romance, so there are some romantic interests. At first, I'm not gonna say that. I'm just gonna say there are some romantic interests, and obviously this is fantasy, so we have powers, and in this world, you have the people who become dragon riders, and those people, when they've made it to a certain level, they basically are paraded in front of dragons, and the dragons choose them. So like they will bond to the dragon, but it's the dragon's choice to be like, you human, bond to me. And they can like communicate with the dragon, but I think it's only like in their brain. Is that telepathy? Telekinesis? You know, whatever that. And so then they're fighting because of course this country has been at war for all these years. And so it's very important. They need to have people in the military. They also have, once they bond with their dragon, they also discover a power that they have. So some people may be able to manipulate water, manipulate wind. Some people might be able to read people's thoughts, see people's past memories, see into the future, different powers, and no one knows what theirs is. I think it's called your signet until you bond with your dragon. That is because not everybody makes it to the parading in front of the dragons. No dragon might pick you, or hell, a dragon might kill you. You literally could die at any time. So it makes me think of Naomi Novik's, it's not a darker shade of magic. Whatever her book was, where it was like, literally you could die all the time, monsters around every corner. It's like that here. So we have a 20-year-old character, main character Violet. We have boys that she's into and dragons. And so there has been a lot of talk about this book because there's a lot of positive reviews, and then there have been some people whose opinions in fantasy I usually trust a little more, who have been voicing their opinion. I know Elle did not like this book. Elle has like a 59-minute video about this book. I know that Marines was reading it. I don't know if she's DNF'd it, but she was like halfway through and she was not into it. The writing is clunky and the world building is really heavy-handed and it's cheesy in some parts. And so it is definitely mixed reviews, and it's not going to be for everyone. And so for me, I spent whatever this book costs, straight up, pre-ordered it. It got here on release day. And I was like, bitch, we're not supposed to be buying books. We don't know nothing about this book. I only heard 2 things about this book and I purchased it. And I'm mad about it. But yeah, I did finish this. And I ate this shit up. This was a 5-star for me. I loved every minute of this. Is this like the best book ever written? No. It's not some magical, amazing prose. I can see some of their criticisms, but I don't care. Because this is definitely the book I needed right now in the moment of the weird reading. I'm not, you know what? I'm gonna stop calling it a weird. I'm not in a reading slump. I just have so many other things going on in my life that I just cannot prioritize reading like I used to. So anyway, this was just something that I would have finished it sooner had life not gotten in the way, but I started it on, I don't remember. But anyways, I loved this. I think the main character, I can see if she could be annoying a little bit, but like, I think hearing about this book first, I mean like new adult, so I knew it was gonna be more younger, and fantasy romance, I knew maybe the fantasy elements wouldn't be the best. And I can understand why people don't like the world building, because there's something the character does, and then because of that we get world building, but I didn't mind. I was like, oh, okay, this is cute. And learning about the world. I loved the dragons, and I loved how they communicated with their writers, especially our main character. They were sassy, and one of them is so cute. Oh my god, I could not stand it. It just made my heart swell. It was fast paced, and I would say maybe only criticism is a little bit in the middle. I was like, wow, maybe we could have shaved this book down a little bit, because when you look at this book, it's deceiving. How many pages do you think this book is? Tell me before I tell you. How many pages do you think this book is? Because I looked at it, I got it, I was like, oh, this is a nice 375 page book. Incorrect, this is 498 pages. Isn't that blasphemous and misleading? But it is 498 pages. But yeah, I was just like, oh my gosh, there was so much. There were things that I expected to happen, being like, oh, okay, this is basically a older young adult book. I think this certain things are going to happen because of these pieces of information that were presented. And then sometimes they weren't. I'm not saying it's over here like turning tropes on their head and it's doing all this new stuff. I just really enjoyed it. I love the setting of the war college. I love the all of death. You know, and people were actually dying, and I was like, okay, I see it. The challenges that the main character has to go through, and I really loved the chronic illness rep, and just when a main character in a fantasy story, I love when they're just not automatically perfect. Like they gotta go through struggles. Like Ren in the Poppy War, you know, when characters in fantasy stories find out they're supposed to be something, or they're supposed to do something, whatever, and then they're just magically good at it, I enjoy that way less than they're like, okay, I have to do this thing, but then they suck at it, or they can't even do it and they have to keep practicing and keep, you know, they have to get trainers and spend extra time after class. Like I love seeing them work for it. I love me some training montages. Like I'll eat it up. So there's a lot of that in here, a lot of dragons and fire and burning, and there is the romantic element. I'm gonna say I ate that up too, okay? Because normally I'm in these like enemies to lovers or whatever stories. One, they're usually not enemies. Here, I think that actually was done very actual, like enemies to lovers effectively. And I don't know, I was feeling the tension. I was feeling the sexual energy. I was feeling it. And I was like, yes, you know, like I was here for it. I was stressed out in some points. I was like, oh, and then towards the end, I was like, hold up. I think this thing is gonna happen because of this context clue. And then I was like, I fucking know it. It took me through it. I was enjoying the whole thing, but the last like 100 pages, blood pressure through the roof. So for me, it's a 5. It's a 5-star. Again, had I read this at a different time in my life, it might not have been a 5-star. I think books, it really depends on where you are mentally, and this is what I needed. So again, I say, this is not the most well-written book of all time. It's not the most original story of all time, but I haven't read anything like it in a while. I was here for it. I felt the romance. I liked the tension, where the plot was going, and I liked some of the twists and turns that we got. So I really enjoyed it. I think that if you don't mind something that's more young adult-ish, we know that new adult, they don't really, publishing doesn't really consider that an age category, but let's say new adult or the older end of YA. So different things come with that, right? Like when we read young adult books and we're like, oh, this person's so whiny, or why is the person making dumb decisions? Like, she's only 20. At 20, your brain ain't fully formed. I'm gonna say even in a fantasy world. So she's only 20. They're like, the ages are like 20 to 23 for this student. So everyone's young, okay? And so lots of hormones, everyone's on the edge of possibly dying every day, so it's a lot of stress. So I think taking those things into consideration, like dragons, sentient animals, in books are like my favorite animal companion, whatever you want to call it, if you love that, and don't mind like the angsty, hate to love young romance. I think this is really good. This is like a fun time. And I am not the expert on fantasy romance. I have not read that much, but some of them that I have read, sometimes I feel like are really light on the fantasy part, and I still feel like even if it's not perfectly developed and the world building is kind of info dumpy in some places to people, I didn't mind it. I felt like it was still a pretty well-established world for a fantasy romance, and I need the next one like yesterday. And I'm so excited because the next one comes out in November, and I'm like, what? I don't know if this is supposed to be a trilogy or a duology or what, but I'm going to pre-order that. I need it. And the only reason I'm not getting the Fairy Loot edition of this book is because it's not that different, besides it being signed and having different sprayed edges. And normally Fairy Loot does really pretty naked hardcovers, but I'm pretty sure when I looked at the website, it didn't say that it was gonna have a design on the naked hardcover, but let me double check, because if it does, then I need it. But yeah, this is fun. I think this reminded me when I was reading it, it reminded me of when I was first getting back into reading after literally years of not reading consistently. And I was reading a lot of young adult. So when I was reading Throne of Glass and then I read Akatar, it put me back in that mood. It was just fun. Like I just was like taking, and maybe, I don't know, again, it's where I am mentally, but I wasn't like overly critiquing it. And I think I go through waves of where I read, I'm more critical on books, and then sometimes I'm not. And this just reminded me of that era. I'm not saying the writing is like Sarah J Maas, I'm just saying it's like not complicated. It was fun. If you like the characters and you get on with the plot of the story early on, then I think you would have a really fun time. And it was just an easy read, and I got invested. I will say maybe it got better as we went on with some of the side characters that are around the main character. A lot of the time we got to know more about them. I would say that I would like to know even more, but who knows what's going to happen in the second book. But yeah, it was candy. It was delicious. It was fun. It was stressful. It was heartbreaking. She took me through it that last 100 pages. I'm still mad, Rebecca. But literally, she has written other books. I did not know of her. That's not shade, but I literally have never heard of her. And so, yeah, this just really came out of nowhere for me, and it worked. This says, a dragon without its rider is a tragedy. A rider without their dragon is dead. Like, ugh. And so I finished this on Thursday night. I think I finished it during sprints, and now I'm recording this on Sunday, and I have not been, I just keep thinking about this. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to read after this. Like, what am I supposed to do now? So I've just been thinking about it. Anyway, I would think that most people would think I did not like this book, but I've been shocked. This is the first Booktok hyped book that I have enjoyed, let alone loved. So I love this for me. Have you read it? What do you think? Are you going to read it? Yeah, I'm not gonna say this is gonna be my all-time favorite book, but I loved this for what it was. When I read it, I had a great time. So also, this is what got me in Bethany's review. She was like, this is giving me what I thought Zodiac Academy would, and that's why I was like, yes, because the premise of Zodiac Academy sounds interesting, but I thought it was terrible, and this definitely was giving that kind of energy, but way better. So if you thought Zodiac Academy was trash, but you like the idea of it, you should try Fourth Wing. Yay! So anyway, love that for me. If you didn't like it, sorry for you. But thank you for watching. Share your thoughts down below. Like this video, subscribe if you want to stick around and see more. Stay blessed, hydrated, moisturize, and sunscreen, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.